listening to the Radio Free Hub City monthly newscast, live from Honey Pot Acre Studio in Hagerstown, Maryland. I'm your host, DJ Warbuckler, the Red Pen Yahoo, and joined by me today is DJ BB the Dingbat. What is the newscast? It's a podcast format show where we talk about local and global news that matters the most to Hub City. There's no script, no set agenda. We talk about local and global news that matters the most. The full recording of this show will be available for replay. Now, before we take a look at tonight's topics, I want to go ahead and give a nice shout out to our sponsor. This episode of the Newscap is sponsored by Sean Flaherty for Hagerstown City Council, committed to improving public safety, attracting higher paying jobs, and supporting small businesses. Sean will work to hire more police, address homelessness, and enhance city services like roads and traffic. Let's build a better future for Hagerstown. Vote Sean Flaherty for City Council. Paid for by Flaherty for Council, Mark Mignona, Treasurer. Alright, so today's newscap is, of course, we're doing our monthly recap of this past month's topics. Now, normally this would be on the first Monday of every month. Doing this a week early this time. We're actually doing it over the phone. I've got BB on the phone here with me. And we're doing this a week early because, of course, next week is the election. Yay! So, for those who have not voted yet, early voting is currently going until, I believe it's either Wednesday or Thursday. I think it's Wednesday. And then Election Day will be on November 5th. And for Election Day, you'll have to go on to either look in your mail for where you're supposed to vote at, or go to the county elections website, and they can direct you there to where your polling center is. So, BB, I know that we've got some exciting topics tonight. Why don't you kick us off? What do you got for us to start with?
Well, first I would just like to say yesterday I had the pleasure of attending the Mummers Parade on the Hagerstown Warthogs float, and it was just really nice to see everybody. It was a really nice night, completely incident-free. Everybody was having a good time, so that was just wonderful, and I truly thank the Warthogs for including us. That was a blast. And then I guess as far as actual news goes, I will kick it off with parking fees at the airport. So there's going to be an increased parking fee beginning in November 2024, so next month. And the parking fee is $5 a day with the first hour free. Now, and I guess
to be clear, the current fee is it's completely free.
Yes.
Right.
And so now they're adding the first hour is free. Anything after that is $5 a day. And, you know, like all your major credit or debit cards, as well as mobile payments and Apple Pay and Google Wallet. It does not mention cash. Please keep that in mind. I'm not sure, but it just doesn't mention.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of people are happy about this because our airport is growing, and then there is some pushback because, let's see, I don't want to misquote the number. The airport has just received $5.25 million in a grant,
right,
for improvements in infrastructure. So, one of those cases where there's specific items the grants could be used for. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
And like maybe parking's not included in that.
Yeah. Well, so you know, I know that, you know, people are like, oh my gosh, they're charging you for the parking. I want you to realize that $5 a day is actually pretty cheap for an airport.
Yeah, I think the national average is I think the minimum is like $28 a day.
Yeah. It's
so we're still well beyond, like, below what would even be average. I don't fly, so I really shouldn't.
Yeah. Well,
give an opinion, but it doesn't sound bad to me.
I don't do it very often, but you know, it's interesting because when it comes to all of this stuff, you know, I go to Baltimore or Dulles or what have you, And, I'm usually there for, let's say, 3 days. And at the end of those 3 days, I end up with usually around a $50 parking fee just for 3 days.
Right.
So $5 per day, that would be, $15. That's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to complain on that. And yes, the airport is absolutely growing. And in fact, the reason they got that grant is in support of that growth. So yeah, no, I'm glad to see it. And
Yes, I am too.
aviation, I don't know how many people realize this, but aviation is something that's definitely in the blood of Washington County and Hagerstown. I mean, we had the A-10 Warthog built here, a plane that was, so well designed that they can't frickin' retire it. They've tried multiple times and they can't. And to see that, we're still continuing that aviation with the stuff that Sierra Nevada is doing. They've got a bunch of Homeland Security contracts. So yeah.
we surely do.
So yeah, so no, I think that's all great things. So very good, very good.
Yes, I do too.
Any final thoughts on that before we go to the next topic?
No, I'm just excited to see it, and I will say that we had family fly in to that airport last month, nice. And they were very impressed. They had a wonderful trip. They were impressed with the airport, both coming and going, and they would definitely do it again and would recommend. So
very good, very good. So. All right, well, I'm going to switch gears a little bit here to a national topic, and that is Arizona judge dismisses charge against resident arrested for criticizing the city attorney's pay at a council meeting. All right, and this happened in Surprise, Arizona. We've been covering this for a couple months now. This woman was at a city council meeting criticizing the city council's decision to give the city attorney a pay raise when she felt he was not doing a good job, including she had multiple Public Information Act requests open that he had not filled in a timely manner. She starts going about this, and the mayor tells her that they have a policy in the council meetings that you're not allowed to criticize a person on the council or criticize a city employee of wrongdoing during the council meeting. That you have to file a complaint through an email process instead. He said that was absolutely a violation of her First Amendment rights, and the mayor told her that if you don't stop, we're going to have you removed. Would not stop. The mayor actually had her arrested, and she was charged with trespassing and resisting arrest. Well, this past month, a judge in Arizona actually dismissed the charges with prejudice, saying that it was very much an infringement upon her constitutional rights, which is going to really pave the way for her federal lawsuit that she has filed to have traction, because that federal lawsuit is going to enable her to get justice. Is probably the best word for that egregious violation of her First Amendment rights.
Yes, because I wouldn't even consider that to be, unless I'm missing something, I wouldn't even consider that to be a criticizing an employee. I don't think that asking a question about somebody's pay rate, even if it's done in an incorrect way, I don't think that that's criticizing an employee at an open meeting.
Right. Well, and let's not forget that was actually it was an item on the agenda that she was talking about. Well, it wasn't just a hey, I'm going to show up and criticize this person. It was they had it on the agenda to talk about giving him his pay raise, and she showed up to challenge that agenda item and say, no, you shouldn't give it to him. And their response was to have her arrested. So terrifying. And really that draws some comparisons to some of the recent events that we've had here locally in Washington County. The county commissioners were actually looking to implement a profanity ban at public meetings. And this has resulted in a lot of not so nice comments by at least one local resident. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. And actually, now it looks like he's been threatening that he may actually sue the county because he had the gavel used, and apparently he was escorted out by police from the council from the county commissioners meeting because he was voicing his displeasure over the proposed ordinance, which by the way they voted not to do. So thank goodness for that. So, yeah,
that's usually extenuating circumstances in my brain. However, I do think that things like dress code and things that prohibit certain types of speech, certain wording, anything that's not already prohibited by, federal or local law or things like that, things that are not already prohibited speech, okay? I actually think that is kind of purposely elitist. I know a big thing right now in society is ableist. We have to be careful that things that we say are not ableist, meaning that we don't complain about things or make jokes about our physical capabilities when somebody else might not be able to do those things, or what I mean, like an insult. And I actually think this is very much along the same kind of line, because not everyone has nice clothes. Not everyone is aware that not all types of speech are appropriate at all types of places. Not everyone has the mental capacity to realize that, what might be appropriate for a conversation just between you and your buddies. It might not be appropriate for a place like a school, a court, something like that. And so I actually think that instead of, banning these languages and things like that, I'm not sure why it is so difficult to just calmly stop and ask someone, excuse me, I understand that I'm not trying to be dismissive, but these meetings are live streamed and, all kinds of people watch them. And since there is the possibility that we might have minor children attending this meeting virtually or people that are sensitive to language, could you please make an effort to limit the profanity? Yep. Because what kind of person is going to be asked nicely like that and be like, no, and then just rattle off every bad word they can think of? Like, that's not...
Yeah. Well,
I don't think most people would do that. I think if most people were asked nicely, they absolutely would adjust their behavior.
Yeah. Well, and so part of that, too, so part of their concern, the county commissioner, was that Antietam broadband, aka Antietam cable, they will not broadcast the meetings if the meetings have profanity in them. So
okay, but so you just go buy you some software that puts a 3-second delay and edits what people say. No big deal.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so that's going to be quite interesting to watch that unfold.
Yes.
Thing. So yeah. All right. I don't have any other thoughts on that. BB, you got any other thoughts? If not, take us to the next.
No, I don't have any other thoughts on that other than I think it's hilarious, and I think it's just going to, I obviously think that it's going to backfire in a major way. I think that any time you tell people that something is prohibited just because you can, then that immediately incentivizes people to just run completely the opposite direction in a very tongue-in-cheek fashion.
Yep. You want to ensure that I'm going to do something? Tell me I can't do it. I'll say watch me.
Right.
So, yeah. All right. Very good. All right. What's our next topic?
Well, we had a fire today that was apparently very difficult to both reach and put out.
Yes.
I believe it burned for several hours, many acres on the mountain up by Clear Spring. And in response, the county has issued a no outside burning ban.
So actually, the
because
Clear Spring fire was yesterday. The one from today
right.
was between Pittsburgh and Boonesboro. So it was actually two
Oh my
fires
goodness.
in a row, 2 days. So,
Oh, I only thought there was the one. Okay,
yeah.
so we're not allowed to burn things outside anymore. And it also says, please take extra caution to just not like throw any kind of incendiary devices away. Like field strip your cigarette butts, people. Don't just be throwing them out there.
Field strip your cigarette butts. I love it. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
field strip your cigarette butts.
But no, seriously though, I'm gonna say. So I listened to the fire radio all day today, and shout out to those guys for going to such extraordinary measures. They actually had to cut a road. Apparently, it was an old logging road that they were trying to do this at. They had to cut a road open to get to the fire. We had Frederick County aiding us, by the way, with the fire. Thank you so much, Frederick County, for all your help with that. And I think they even brought in Maryland State Police aviation. One of their helicopters came in to look at the fire and let them know, how big it was and where exactly it was. So
yes,
shout out to all of them for all their hard work. This stuff's dangerous. Wildfires are extremely dangerous, especially because it was windy today apparently, and the wind will make it spread even quicker. And if you're not careful,
yes, I believe tomorrow they're calling for between 10 to 20 mile an hour winds.
Yeah. So definitely, please, folks, don't burn anything outside. And please be careful. Don't throw your cigarette butts away, etc. So yeah. No, very good, very good. Any final thoughts on that one?
No, I don't think so. Just trying to, just remember Smokey the Bear. We got enough problems. Try not to burn the whole thing down.
Yes, absolutely agree. All right. Well, I know another one that we wanted to talk about. This one's is a bit of a sad topic, and that's that a man dies in Hagerstown police custody. The Maryland Attorney General is currently investigating. Apparently, this happened on October 26th. There was a search warrant being executed. The man was handcuffed, put in a police cruiser, and then he apparently vomited and stopped breathing, and then became unresponsive. So I've seen some speculation online about, blaming Hagerstown Police Department. One thing I will say is that I am very glad that, Hagerstown Police Department now all has body cameras, and they've all got dashboard cameras in their cars. And I
think they said 20 days is the maximum.
Yeah. Well, it could be longer than that if there's extenuating circumstances, but within 20 days they'll release the body cameras of the incident. The Maryland Attorney General's office is investigating it, and they will then determine if there's any wrongdoing or not. So
yeah, I'm seeing. It's difficult for me when I when I read articles to. Some of them have a bit more detail than others.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even notice if it said that he had been arrested.
You know what? I don't think he was actually arrested. You're right. They just said that.
I don't think so either.
So
yeah, I don't think so either.
So it's important to clarify there is a difference between arrested and detained. Detained can be detained at a scene, and then they could let you go.
Right.
Arrested,
it
they're
says,
going to lock up.
So what happened, according to the Hagerstown police, is that they showed up to where they were serving the warrant at 10:15 p.m.
And this was a search warrant, not an arrest warrant.
Yes, a search warrant on a residence. And when they arrived, they saw a guy outside of the home. He was not identified as a resident. He was not alleged to be under suspicion. He was taken into custody, placed in handcuffs, and in the back seat of a police car. So I'm not sure if he had been charged.
I don't believe so.
With anything or not.
Yeah.
But there are some sources and some Facebook posts from people that claim that they were witnesses or whatever, that the person allegedly, now again, allegedly, because this is not in the police report and I have not seen any official to this nature, but that he was complaining of some sort of, he was saying he was in distress.
Right.
Saying he's something that he thought he was having a heart attack or he was having chest pain or something.
So, but then at the same time, how often do they have somebody say that just to try to get them to let them go?
Right. Right. So, and I think that that's probably one of those things where it's really going to come down to, the body cameras, the police report, and I think that it's one of those things where, like, okay, so he was placed in the backseat of a police car. Was the door closed behind him? Was there an officer there with him? He started vomiting and had difficulty breathing and then became unconscious, and then officers rendered medical aid. You know what I mean? So I think it's really going to come down to the specifics. When he was throwing up, what position was he in? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, and then it does make note that the body cam should be out within 20 business days. However, in instances where identities of civilian witnesses or family members need to be protected or family members need to see the video first and it's not happened in that time, they can hold the body cam footage.
Right.
So depending on what sort of witnesses might be featured on the body cam, it could take longer.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, well, like I said, it's going to be a matter of waiting to see what the Attorney General comes back with.
We don't really have any details other than that. And so at this point, that's a tragedy, and I'm sure that it's just absolutely just grim and traumatic for all involved, probably for the officers, and I'm certain for the friends and family of the deceased. And I just really hope that we get information that suggests that this was just, a really tragic, terrible accident.
Yep.
And that nothing could have been done to obviously prevent such a thing from happening.
Yep, absolutely agree. All right. Well, BB, what's our next topic?
Well, I figured that one was mine. What are you going to talk about?
All right. Well, I'll bring up a national topic. This is an interesting one. Alabama resident charged for involvement in Bitcoin price manipulation by hacking the SEC's Twitter account. All right. Now, actually, it's X. It's not Twitter. It's X. I'm going to say Twitter, though, because everybody knows what I'm saying when I say Twitter. If I just say X, then some people still don't know what that is. So, Elon Musk, interesting branding choice you had there. Anyway.
Yeah.
So apparently, the suspect, his name is Eric Council. He's 25-year-old from Athens, Alabama. Him and his accomplices took control of the SEC's account using a SIM swap. Okay, for those not familiar with the SIM swap is, basically they clone your cell phone, and they use that cloned cell phone to be able to do an account recovery attack against your Twitter account. So they did a SIM swap attack, and then they used it to claim that the Bitcoin exchange traded funds has been approved. The SEC had not announced that yet, and basically that allows stock market trading of Bitcoin is what that would have been. It has been approved since,
Interesting.
but in the meantime, it had not yet been approved. So when that happened, of course, the price of Bitcoin rose because everybody was like, "Oh, hey, I guess it's time to buy more Bitcoin." Well, what ends up happening is it was price manipulation. They manipulated the price to go up, and because of that, then the whoever was participating in it, they could sell their Bitcoin, knowing they were going to make a profit. So really interesting way they did this, and apparently there was also an identity stolen as well, that they actually impersonated one of the SEC employees to do this. So
wow,
very, very complex attack. Yeah, very, very interesting stuff. So I'm now personally I'm not a Bitcoin investor. I don't know about you, BB. I don't invest in Bitcoin.
No, not anymore.
But
not anymore.
This also reminds me of something that happened many years ago, in which the White House's Twitter, I believe it was compromised. And no, I'm sorry, it wasn't the White House's Twitter. It was one of the news services' Twitters was compromised, and they announced that there was an explosion at the White House. And and that resulted in a stock plummet. And if somebody had shorts on the market at that time, they made bank. Now SEC actually made them undo the stock plummet, but still, it's interesting to see how that stuff unfolds. So, really interesting stuff. Any thoughts on that one?
I think it's really interesting, but I think that it's another one of those things where, like, I'm sure this is not the first time that this has happened, and it won't be the last, and so I think this is just something that people need to be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. Verify your sources. So.
Yeah.
All right, very good. All right, what's our next topic?
Okay, so I actually have one that I believe is very relevant to our state. The U.S. Attorney's Office and the DEA have announced a fatal fentanyl overdose task force for Maryland. Okay. It is the Maryland Fatal Fentanyl Overdose Task Force, which they did put an abbreviation on, but it's just all of those big, long letters, so it's like big, giant, long. But it does say that since July 2023 to June 2024, we had 2,000 overdose deaths in Maryland. More than 1,600 were fentanyl related.
Wow.
There are 17 state, local, and law enforcement offices that are part of this as of today, and both Hagerstown Police Department and Washington County Sheriff's Department are participants, as are Frederick City Police. I don't see the Frederick Sheriff's Department on there. I do see Montgomery County Police, Maryland Department of Public Safety and Corrections, and then, a couple other ones, Ocean City, Cecil County, Calvert County, places like that. So hopefully this list will continue to grow. So what this is meant to do, obviously, instead of just preventing overdoses, okay, this task force is, there's education, prevention, things of that nature, but they are wanting to form this task force, and in addition to providing outreach and education through the communities, they want to increase the likelihood of prosecutable convictions in fentanyl deaths. This is a direct quote. It says, "This initiative is a clear example of our collective response to disrupt and dismantle criminal drug trafficking networks, both domestic and abroad." So they want to engage with communities directly, and the slogan is going to be "One pill can kill" as far as fentanyl goes. Yeah. But yeah, that is, I guess, there are a lot of moving parts to this. They're delivering, presentations and things like that right now. They've already been to Hagerstown. Obviously, we joined in. But that is the point at the end of the day, is to wants all the participants to conduct their normal duties, but also serve on the task force collaterally. So, if you are a legal professional or a law enforcement officer, whatever, you do your day job, but then you also serve on this committee. And that is kind of the point, is to put everybody's special skill set together to see if perhaps we can't get some actual convictions, particularly when it comes to the fentanyl. And I'm going to have to assume here that this is because a lot of people that die or overdose from fentanyl are not aware that they are ingesting fentanyl.
Right, exactly. Well,
and so I think really that in those cases, people do need to be held responsible. I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, if you take the shock value of what the item is out of the picture, and let's just pretend that it's cheddar cheese. Actually, here's a better example that links up with one of the stories that we did. Last week, there was a recall because the Coca-Cola company, they put full sugar lemonade in the cans that say 0. So if you are a diabetic, if you can't have sugar, if you're on a diet, you simply prefer the taste, whatever, you had no way of knowing that what you were consuming contained actual sugar because you purchased something you thought you were sugar-free. So the company is held accountable for that. Yeah. And so I think that it's the same kind of situation. If someone thinks that they are purchasing, let's say, cocaine or methamphetamine, or not that any drugs are okay, but fentanyl is what is killing people at an alarming rate. And so let's say someone thought that they were purchasing cocaine and it had fentanyl in it. That's the same thing as the lemonade scenario, and someone should be held accountable for that.
Yep, absolutely. Very good. No, I like that. I'm very encouraged by that because
no news yet on how that will be implemented locally, where it will be headquartered. I do know that the U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland and Special Agent in Charge, Jared Forget, is the person he's kind of heading this up.
Very good. No,
I am actually looking forward to seeing that, and I'll get a print article out on that.
Okay.
In case anybody wants to learn more.
And I know that fentanyl, really the whole opioid and drug crisis, has really impacted Washington County and Hagerstown specifically. So that's good news. I'm glad that they participate.
I usually don't get real excited about this kind of stuff because I usually take one look at something and I'm like, oh, good, here's another organization or task force or something that's just going to come in and do the same thing everybody else seems to do. I realize that there are a lot of red tape, moving parts, things of this nature. Things take time, but I'm just saying public perception is all of these people, that's their job, and it seems to be getting worse. So this one I am particularly excited about because this one seems to be coming from, yes, prevention, education, community involvement, the same as the other entities, but this one is specifically focused on, and how do we prosecute people and keep them in jail for selling this drug?
Right.
And I personally think, this is an opinion, but I personally think that would be helpful. And I am not a person that, I don't think that people should go to jail for drug crime, substance, things like that, unless they are causing immediate harm to themselves or someone else, or they're trafficking, or it's affecting their children, something like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think people should go to jail for that. I think that there's plenty of trash that needs picked up on the side of the highway that somebody could work off, whatever fees, fines, or penalties, unless it's something serious, But I actually do think that people that are literally selling something that, we're talking about something that is a pharmaceutical lab-made product that comes from China, that can no longer come from China completed, so they ship the ingredients to Mexico, and you've got a bunch of cartels just putting it together. However, that's like anything. That's like spaghetti. You can give 10 people the same exact recipe. Nobody's spaghetti is going to taste the same when they're finished making it. So, I do think that with that drug in particular, I think that that's a fantastic idea. Let's focus on prosecuting and convictions for that substance.
Right. Yeah, very good. Awesome. All right. Well, no, I'm very glad to hear that. So I think let's go ahead and move on to our next topic then, unless you got any final thoughts on that.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Cool.
I was sitting on that. That was my like informed, responsible adult story of the day.
So speaking of being responsible adults, and here's an example of somebody being a very irresponsible adult. And that is Maryland man pleads guilty to massive illegal scrap tire dumping in Allegheny County. All right. So we have this guy. His name is Mikel Osei from Hanover, Maryland, and he entered a guilty plea to 17 environmental crimes for his role in the unlawful disposal and abandonment of over 250,000 scrap tires in Allegheny County.
Now, you think that you could come up with something clever and lucrative.
Well, it was very lucrative for him, actually. So he was actually apparently making a significant amount of money by taking these tires, and I think he was supposed to be disposing of them properly or environmentally consciously. However, anyway, he claimed the operation would create jobs, employ up to 50 people, and that he had secured contracts worth millions to export the processed tires. All right, and based upon that, Allegheny County provided him a land lease for an industrial parcel near the Potomac River. So he actually was leasing land from Allegheny County under the guise of he was using to process scrap tires, and all he did was just dump them there. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. The site was abandoned completely in September 2022 with a reported 250,000 scrap tires on the site. We've got a photo on our website of the scrap tire lot. It's actually right next to the canal is what it actually looks like. It's just amazing to me. We're talking an entire think like Martin's parking lot or maybe even Walmart parking lot, like that size of a lot, just completely filled with tires. And we're talking like 6 foot tall worth of tires. I'm just
okay.
Yeah. I mean, so it was a massive.
If he had a brain in his head, he would have opened a paintball park.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame he didn't come up with something, some sort of creative use for the tires. Even
that's what I mean. Like you could have made bank with that. All kinds of stuff. You could sell them to people with boats so they don't hit the dock. You could come up with all kinds of things for tires.
Yeah. So his sentencing will be on December 17th, but he has pled guilty to it. So it blows my mind that how much stuff. I mean, and it's all out in the open too. You look at the photo, you could clearly see the stuff from the road. You could clearly see the stuff from the C&O Canal. How did nobody question why is all these tires here?
Fort.
Yeah, so absolutely crazy. So, all right, any thoughts on that? Or you want to take us to the next topic?
Yeah, we can go to the next one.
All right, what would you like to talk about next?
So this one might be a little bit important to some of our listeners or someone they know. Nationwide recall of an antidepressant due to a carcinogenic chemical.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it is. So it is duloxetine. That is actually a painkiller, but it's commonly prescribed as an antidepressant. It treats like depression, anxiety. Diabetics can use it. Fibromyalgia, chronic pain, muscle pain, bone pain, and that is the actual name. But the more popular brand name that people might be familiar with is Cymbalta.
Okay.
So that's what you're looking for, duloxetine, Cymbalta. And there are approximately, as of last count, there are about 20 million prescriptions across the U.S. for this particular item.
Wow.
I am not going to try to pronounce, I got it. Let's see. N-nitroso-duloxetine. That is the carcinogen. And they are recalling it from hospitals, pharmacies, everywhere. So they know that if exposed for a long period of time, this particular chemical can be, a known carcinogen. However, the batch that they tested was I don't know how much, but it says well above the safety limits.
Oh, dear.
Yes.
That's not good.
Yes, and it says the nitrosamine presence is interesting. It says it can sometimes be from manufacturing or storage, like it could be a byproduct of that. It could have been accidental. It could have been exposed to something else, but they did find no evidence of tampering, not with the packaging, not with the pills. Wow. And at this point, they are not sure if every pill from a certain batch is tainted, every pill from a certain bottle is tainted. So again, 18 million people approximately are on this for everything from pain to depression, and it has been recalled. And they found it in several different milligram doses as well. So this seems to be
sounds like a manufacturing
widespread. And it also, the CDC says that approximately 37 million people in the United States are taking this antidepressant or similar. So you're going to want to, I guess you can. Well, I'll see if we can put the link. The FDA issued the recall, so you can go on the FDA website. You can find the information, and if you have a bottle that is affected, you can get a hold of your medical professional. You're not going to want to get a hold of your pharmacy until you get a hold of your doctor,
right?
Because they are going to want to, make a note for your insurance company before you call your pharmacy. And then also your pharmacy might have some sort of specific disposal instructions. So you might just want to ask what you are supposed to do with any sort of tainted bottle.
Right. Very good. Very good. Well, that's good info. That's, wow. It reminds me of almost, some of the stuff where, I think it was Ritalin we were having a shortage on for a while. And
yes.
So, now we're going to have a shortage on antidepressants. So that's...
Well, I think, they were saying that part of the problem is that some of the side effects for this particular prescription drug are things like diarrhea, weight loss, anorexia, constipation, nausea, dizziness, bruising, eurythmia. So these are all things that can also be early warning signs of cancers or similar.
Oh.
So, yes. So people might not be under I guess that's why the FDA is so hyped to get this information out, is because you might not be aware that you have been negatively affected by this, anything beyond a known side effect for your dosage.
Wow. That's
yeah.
All right. Well, I think we got one more topic yet. Any last thoughts on that before we go to the last topic?
Nope. Just again, the FDA website has everything you need to know. That would be duloxetine, and the most common brand name of that is Cymbalta, but there are others. That's it.
Right. Okay. Very good. Well, and if you've got any questions as whether you're affected or not, call your doctor. That's probably the best way to do it.
Yes.
All right. Well, last topic for the night. And this is actually kind of a tie-in into what our next episode will be. So now, as I said, our next episode next week is going to be, we're going to have our election night special. It's going to be multiple hours. We're going to have actually a live dial-in line. But before we get to that, let's talk about the last topic. This one's a little interesting, and that's Pennsylvania County uncovers voter registration fraud among thousands of applications. And this actually happened not too far from us, up in Lancaster County. And they are investigating. There was two batches of 2,500 voter registration applications dropped off at the very last minute. And as they're going through these voter registration applications, they start noticing stuff's wrong with them. Like, hey, why are these voter registration applications all in the same handwriting? Well, come to find out, I believe the number was around 60% of them they believe are actually fraudulent. Some of the applications were for people who had already registered to vote, but with a different signature. So the Pennsylvania Attorney General is currently investigating, but it's really interesting to watch this unfolding. I mean, we're talking. I mean, okay, so we always hear that voter fraud, voter registration fraud is so rare that it would never, affect a vote. Well, now we're talking thousands of fraudulent registrations in a battleground state that, and by looking at the election, Pennsylvania is going to be the key for whoever wins. Right now,
yes.
The way the predictions are looking, if Harris wins Pennsylvania, then she has a chance of winning the election. If Trump wins Pennsylvania, it's over for Harris. That's the way it's looking right now. So we'll see if if that prediction comes true or not. But the fact that this is happening in the battleground state that a lot of people are predicting is going to be, this is the state that the whole election hangs on. That's a little concerning.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that, BB?
I mean, Pennsylvania is always wild, and this is not the first time that Pennsylvania has had super alarming either voter registration or ballot problems, things of that nature. So, I mean, I'm not surprised, but at the same time, I am frustrated.
Yeah. Well, and
because
so to add to that, back during the last presidential election, I actually had a friend who came to me for advice, and I'm talking about, I don't know what in the world to tell you to do about it. Apparently, he had to fill out a provisional ballot during the last election because during that election, someone requested a mail-in ballot in his name with his signature from his driver's license. He never requested and never received that mail-in ballot. So what's really concerning is when he tried to report it. He tried to report to the state elections referring to the Attorney General's office, the Attorney General's office then referring back to the state elections, and they kept ping-ponging him back and forth until he gave up.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that was in, I believe, Franklin County. So there's definitely been hijinks in the past. Yes, I used the word hijinks.
I like it.
Yeah, in the past in Pennsylvania, and I'm not surprised that there's some in here now. This also comes at the same time there was a fake video circulating online where supposedly, and like once again, this video was proved fake, where supposedly Bucks County was destroying ballots that were for Trump.
Russians. They were Russians, allegedly.
Yes. I'm going to say, you actually did a little more research on this story than I did. Fill us in on that.
Yeah, so it was alleged that there was a viral video of people destroying ballots somehow to help Trump. It did not say if these were blank ballots or it just said ballots, and that it was somehow meant to help Trump. It did not say if they are looking for suspects. It did not say if arrests had been made. It did not say if anyone was being charged with anything. It did not say if anything was actually destroyed. And all they said was that that the perpetrators were Russian. So we don't know who they are. We don't know what happened. We just know that some Russians came to Pennsylvania to stress Smokey the Bear out. I don't know.
Now, I did read that the FBI, I believe it is actually now investigating.
Well, I would hope so.
The source of it. So, yeah, the FBI investigating, and they've also involved the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA. So
awesome.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll see some traction there to see who actually perpetrated that. You know, I kind of have to laugh though because they're using Russians as the boogeymen.
Yeah, it always.
Yeah. Well, you know, if it's not Russia, it's China.
Yeah. Well, no. We've also had, let's see, Pakistan, or not Afghanistan.
Well, yeah, but I don't ever see Afghanistan get blamed for anything that happens here.
No, that's what I'm saying. They just blamed some guy from Afghanistan for an election day attack that he was plotting.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
and Iran is now mostly behind the election interference, according to most media.
Wow. Well, yeah. So needless to say, it's going to be an interesting election. We're going to do a couple hours on election night. We're looking forward to it. We're gonna track the election results as they come in. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I think it's a 90% chance that we will have no idea who wins the national election on election night. I think that we're going to have to wait several weeks for that. With that said, I think might be able to predict some of the local elections with reasonable certainty. Hang on a second. Let me pull up the Washington County Board of Elections. They actually have on there how many of the mail-in ballots were sent out and already returned. Okay, so right now we have in Washington County 16,000 mail-in ballots were sent out. 10,766 of them were returned. That's as of today. So that means we have potentially right now about 6,000 outstanding ballots. So if any local races are more than a 6,000 vote difference, then we can probably go ahead and safely call them on election. Anything that's less than 6,000, we can probably make some inferences who we think's going to win. I will say that typically mail-in ballots, I believe it's typically a 2-to-1 ratio for Democrat versus Republican, but maybe more, maybe less. We don't know. So it'll be interesting to see. I think right now we're planning on. We'll probably start our stream around 8:30 on election night, and then we'll probably go for maybe 3 hours. Possibly longer depending on if things are getting interesting.
Yes.
Now, the part I'm really excited about, and I know you're excited about this too, and I know I've already got a few people that have said they're going to call in, is we're going to have a live dial-in line on election night.
Yes.
So now we still need to come up with some ground rules on that, and that's something you and I need to talk about after this show or before election night. But basically, we're going to set a few ground rules. We're not going to let somebody come on and turn it into the whatever their name is podcast. We're not going to.
No, I'll just hang up on them. I don't care.
Yeah. So we're going to, go ahead and we're going to make sure that there's some ground rules set before anybody dials in. We'll reinforce those ground rules when they come on to the show. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and say we are not required to follow FCC broadcast standards. So, sexually obscene stuff will be prohibited because that is prohibited by Rumble's rules. Vulgarity is not. Now, I'll ask people to, try to minimize it, but I'm not going to enforce it with an iron fist unless things get out of hand. And also at the same time, I'd love to hear from varying points of view, as far as who people think is going to win the election, who people really supported during the election and why, whatever. So I think it'll be a really interesting time to interact with people. Even if nobody calls in, we're still doing it though. We're still going to do it for the.
I've got some little prize items worked up for a few shenanigans games that I've come up with in my head.
Well, and who knows? Maybe we should raffle off a bottle of Hagerstown Gator sauce. So.
Oh, I think that sounds fantastic.
So, all right. Well, anyway, so we're really looking forward to that. Can't wait for our election night broadcast. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get all the information out there about that because, for once, I want all you crazy people to call.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we've got a Facebook event out already that has all the info for when it's going to start and how to participate. So, definitely check our Facebook page for that, and I'll probably post something on the website as well. So. All right, well, BB, any final thoughts before we call this a night?
I don't think so. I just, daylight savings ends next week. Not that we really care, but also I'd just like to take this opportunity to remind people that also means that it's getting cold outside. So if you're, hauling all your winter gear out of storage or whatever, and you find yourself with things like extra blankets, extra coats, gloves, anything like that, emergency blankets, please consider finding somewhere to donate it instead of just throwing it away. Even if it's stained, animal shelters will absolutely take it. So, somebody can make some use of it and just, I'm not asking anyone to really go out of their way, but if you see some things that people might find useful, this is going to be a very difficult year for a lot of people, especially the unhoused. So maybe we can all help a little bit, just not having so much laundry to do ourselves. What a win-win.
And I will say that Hagerstown Fire Department, they might be a good ones to reach out to. Apparently they're going to be doing a giveaway of coats to a couple of different elementary schools. So
wonderful.
Got some old coats that don't fit your kids anymore. That might be a good place to start. All right, well, very good. I think that's it for the night. BB, really appreciate you helping tonight. But that's it for tonight's newscap. So tonight's newscap was sponsored by Honey Pot Acres Farm. Are you craving some heat? Get ready to wrestle with the flavor of Honey Pot Acres Farm's Hagerstown Gator Sauce. This hot sauce packs a punch that'll leave your taste buds grinning like a gator. Perfect for spicing up anything from breakfast to barbecue, it's a kitchen companion you didn't know you needed. Snag a bottle at the Sharpsburg Farmers Market. Well, actually, you can't do that because Sharpsburg Farmers Market's over for the season. But we'll be back again next year, probably. Or order online at honeypotacres.com. You can order in bulk on that website. I still haven't set up the actual being able to order individual bottles yet. I got to figure that out. But Honeypot Acres Farm, because even your food deserves a wild side. And that's it for tonight's newscast. So on behalf of BB, myself, and all of the Radio Free Hub City family, thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us next time. Don't forget to visit our website for more local and national news at radiofreehubcity.com.